two athletes shared their time in Rec Hall as both brothers and teammates.
And one runner's experience participating in the Boston Marathon last year and his run for celebration and healing this year.
All this and more up next on In the Game. Welcome to In the Game, Center County's only show devoted to in-depth sports coverage. I'm Tyler Ainge.
And I'm Casey Laser. Today we'll learn about a coach who made the switch from Wright State to Penn State and has positively transformed the team during his first season as coach. But first, John Bridgens introduces us to a long-standing group at Penn State that has been forever present and always supportive, no matter what the situation.
The Penn State Football Letterman's Club started in 1981 and has developed over the past 33 years. One aspect that remains constant during a time of change has been the support of the Letterman for the current team.
We are an organization comprised of almost 1,000 former Letterman and football managers. That was established approximately 30 years ago.
When the Letterman's Club was originally founded, it was more a social club than anything else. And that's not a bad thing. I just think we're still in the beginning stages of trying to figure out exactly what we need to do to be more supportive of the football program and Penn State at large.
Like any other Penn Stater, we were in uncharted waters.
I like to say we were a fat and happy social club whose biggest decision was what weekend do we have the golf tournament and how many cases of beer do we need to get for it. Okay, and it went to something very different.
Here, we're going to put you in the right.
In addition, Joe Paterno is no longer the head football coach, effective immediately.
When things looked bleak, Penn State needed its leaders to help keep the program together.
After the firing of Joe Paterno, I felt it was necessary, and the club agreed, that the Letterman's Club make a formal statement to the public to show that we are a unified group and we stood behind the current coaches that were remaining on the staff. Tom Bradley was the interim head coach, and along with the players in that locker room who were preparing that week to play Nebraska.
And just for them to come and show us how much they care, very much so in a variety of ways, whether it's coming back physically and talking to us, support by coming to the games, or even helping us with internships and getting jobs when we're done playing. It's really a great deal they've got going for us.
Letterman's Club president at the time, Tim Sweeney, along with former offensive lineman Keith Conlon, organized a Rise and Rally event to help convince the players to stay at Penn State after the NCAA sanctions were announced, allowing players to transfer. Thousands of fans and former players came at 7 a.m. to show their support of the team.
It really meant the world to us to have the support of the community, of the university, of all our fans, a way for the Letterman and the community to let us know that everyone's very much still behind us and supporting us.
You play for your families, you play for these fans, and you play for the coaches, and they're going to have your backs no matter what happens, and that was proof of it today.
Not all the Lettermen were on the same page, though. Former linebackers LeVar Arrington and Brandon Short spoke out against the hiring of Bill O'Brien, an outsider in their view. Two-time All-American LeVar Arrington said, "I'm done. I'm done with Penn State. If they're done with us, I'm done with them." Short was quoted as saying, "It is the view of the vast majority of the Lettermen that they've been marginalized and their family is being destroyed."
You have to be careful when you say the vast majority of a certain group of people. You know, a lot of guys that are Letterman made comments that were specific to them, but I think some people took it that they were speaking on behalf of the Letterman's Club, and that wasn't the case.
The only thing we said is, when you talk, you don't say, I'm representing the Letterman's Club and this is how we feel. You know, this is the way society should be. If you want to speak for yourself, go for it. There's nothing I would ever do to silence someone giving their individual opinion.
There was never, in my mind, any type of fracture, amongst the Lettermen. I still have the same views that I've had. One of the positive things that have come out of the Sandusky scandal is, the Lettermen have become a lot closer.
Short believes the Letterman's bond is as strong as ever, and according to Richardson, new head coach James Franklin is working to strengthen that bond.
Well, I think he has been reaching out to some of the former players, and I think that's been well received. I think he's also tried to stress the point that he wants the former guys around as much as possible.
Karpakis believes that Franklin has the support of the Letterman.
The guy was hired to be the coach of Penn State. He doesn't need to prove anything to me. All I care about is that you understand there's certain traditions and expectations within this university with players graduating and things like that. As long as he's got great guys playing for him that graduate, never hear a word from me.
Penn State men's volleyball stars Peter and Aaron Russell proudly wear the blue and white, but they have another connection as well. They're brothers.
With 28 NCAA tournament appearances and 2 national championships to its credit, men's volleyball has proven to be a successful program for Penn State athletics. This year's squad is led by brothers Peter and Aaron Russell.
I didn't even decide that I wanted to play college volleyball until after I saw a Penn State match. I came out with my dad on an alumni night and watched them play a match and just really loved it. And I wanted to play college volleyball at that point. You know, looking back, I'm definitely, you know, I couldn't see myself going anywhere else. I'm really glad that I came here, and it's something that I'm always going to be really proud of, is to have a Penn State diploma and to have been part of this team.
Peter and Aaron's father, Stu Russell, was a former volleyball team captain for the Nittany Lions back in the mid-'80s.
In terms of family connection, I don't really think I felt any extra pressure to come here because just because of my dad. And my dad actually, you know, I don't think ever once, you know, told me or even led me on in terms of what he wanted me to do or where I wanted to go. He was pretty good with kind of hands-off, just kind of let me make my own decision.
It really was an individual recruit, Pete, on his own merits, saying, here's what Penn State can do for you, Peter. And then when it came time to recruit Aaron, same thing, Aaron, here's some of the advantages you have at Penn State. At that point, one of the advantages was he had Pete kind of blazing a trail a little bit, so he wouldn't feel that he had to do it all by himself.
I think it was a combination of a lot of things. Obviously, it was closer to home, plus Peter was there, my dad was there. Everyone knew me, they knew how to relate to me, they knew how to talk to me, stuff like that. I think that my dad and Peter being here was probably the biggest part.
Their sibling bond has allowed the Russell brothers to form a dangerous duo on the court for Penn State. The program has won a regular season conference title every year since Peter was a freshman.
I really look at him as number 8 and number 9. I don't look at them any differently than I look at anybody else on the floor. And, they're very good student athletes. They're very good volleyball players, and you treat them individually and within the context of the team.
We know what to say to each other and kind of what gets the other one going. Just in terms of chemistry, I think it helps us.
There's a few plays where sometimes I'll come up to him and I'll just say something and I can tell that he's upset or he just gets a fire in his eyes and I see him hit the next ball that much harder. So I think that helps out a lot. Just we know what makes each other tick and we can get each other fired up.
Even greater than supporting each other on the court is the comfort of knowing how much the entire Russell family is connected by a single sport.
I mean, I think it's more than just a common sport in our family. I think that it's brought us closer together because it gives them something for them to come up and watch.
I know my dad, anytime we'll get in a little bit of a tougher situation, starts the "We Are" chant. So you get to hear his booming voice once in a while. You know, you can tell he's definitely wants to be out there if he could.
This season served as the end of an era for the Russell family as Peter celebrated his final home game on March 29th against conference rival George Mason. With their immediate family on hand, Aaron and Peter had time throughout the weekend to reflect on their journey together.
I guess it was a little weird because people were kind of just saying, you know, congratulations, coming up, this is your night, and I guess eventually it kind of started hitting me a little bit, you know, that this was my last regular season home game in front of that crowd, and it was really obvious that the team wanted to, you know, send me out with a win.
I think it kind of hit me at the banquet, not so much during the game. We had a banquet the next morning that I wasn't going to be playing with him next year. It's going to be weird playing without him.
Coming up next on In the Game, one runner reflects on 2 very different experiences of running the Boston Marathon.
The Boston Marathon, known as the world's oldest marathon, takes place on Patriots' Day every year. And while it's usually a time of celebration, last year changed it all. During the 117th Boston Marathon, 2 bombs went off near the finish line. Now, 1 year later, runners and families came together for celebration and healing. I talked with Marty Clancher on his experience during that catastrophic time.
This will be my 15th year running Boston. Every year is very special. It's like a 26-mile-long parade. There's people everywhere. When you pass through the sidewalks, everyone's packed, everyone's celebrating the day. It's just a real celebration, and you really feel special as a runner to be part of it. Well, last year was like every other year. It was a day kind of like today. It was a little cool as usual. Just, you know, thousands and thousands of people along the course cheering you. People were just happy to be out celebrating the day. And so I crossed the finish line and I decided I'm going to linger. I was just taking my time, just soaking it all in, doing all that stuff. You know, it was still that atmosphere of joy and celebration. And then the bombs went off. The first one went off and people were, I remember I was amongst the tall buildings and it was echoing around and we're like, what in the world's that? And then the second one went off. And everyone knew that something bad was happening, and then the mood just instantly, everything changed. We didn't know what had happened. We couldn't really see anything. We heard the bombs.
Just blew up.
Because the sirens just started, and of course it was not stopped. We knew something was wrong. So I was trying to meet up with my wife, Jeannie, and I was heading towards the family meeting area. We did meet up, and we got out of the immediate area as soon as we could. And fortunately, Jeannie's brother lives in Back Bay. We went into Jeannie's brother's condo and we turned the TV on and we were just shocked. Of course, they were all over the news by then and showing video of the bombs. It's a day of celebration, and I want to celebrate it with them again. And this year is going to be different. It's also a day, hopefully a day of healing for a lot of people. And I know that's true for a lot of the runners too. They just want to go back and support it and maybe help get through that healing process.
Marty in the studio right now. Marty, what was that like for you to experience that this year, and how was it different from last year?
Now, running Boston as anticipated was just a tremendous experience. I loved every minute of it. It was a very emotional year. It was very much a year of celebration, a year of healing. I'll never forget it. Running Boston is always special. I think this year was extra special just because of what had happened the previous year.
You said that this is your 15th time running the Boston Marathon. You're 56 years old. Do you plan on trying out for next year?
Yeah, I hope to get back next year. I have to requalify, but we'll see what I can do about that. Yes, I'd like to get back. It's really a special event.
Well, thank you for coming into the studio with us, Marty. We really appreciate you sharing your story and your experience about 2013 and this year's Boston Marathon.
I'm Rob Cooper, head baseball coach at Penn State University. If you want to learn more about me, stick around on In the Game.
While Penn State football grabbed national headlines in January with its highest profile coaching hire, it was not the only team to get a new head coach this year. Last summer, Penn State hired former Wright State coach Rob Cooper to become the new head coach of Nittany Lion baseball. Although Cooper's first season as head coach is still in progress, he has already had a positive effect on his new team. In August 2013, head coach Rob Cooper became the new Penn State baseball coach with the goal of turning around a struggling program.
The way it is in our industry is, when a job opens, it kind of spreads like wildfire. But, I had heard that the job opened. Penn State was always a job that, I was really happy where I was at, but Penn State was always a job that, you kind of felt like if that one were to ever open, it was a place that, obviously great facilities, you feel like you could win, and just being a part of this university and this community was an exciting thing to think about.
He seemed like a great guy over the phone, and I could tell that
What set him apart from, my previous experience here was that he wanted to coach here. Like, it seemed like a passion for him to want to coach here, and I thought that was probably the most important part.
Freshman shortstop Jim Haley was looking forward to starting his collegiate career with a coach who was new to Penn State as well.
I had a great reaction, to be honest. I mean, I knew there was 3 or 4 different candidates, and to be honest, I was pulling for Cooper. I knew he was, at the time, head coach of the USA team, and heard a lot of good things about him, so I was really excited when I heard he was coming in. I think we're kind of, in a sense, going, not through the same thing. I mean, they're coming in, it was my first year, so I think it was a learning experience for both of us, but it's worked out well so far, so I'm looking forward. I think we're both going through the same transition and going forward through the next 4 years.
The returning players from the previous coaching staff also look forward to the start of the Rob Cooper era.
I was pretty excited to get a whole new staff in here and start off on a new foot and hopefully turn things around from what we've done in the past season. So honestly, I was pretty excited to try and change the culture around into a winning culture.
In order to turn the team around, Coach Cooper had to implement a new attitude.
Accept responsibility for their success, for their their mistakes, and also to not make excuses.
There are some things that have been tolerated in the past that just aren't tolerated right now, and it's obviously for the better. The discipline is better, but at the same time, he keeps a good atmosphere, keeps things light.
Coach Cooper's first priority after taking over as head coach was to familiarize himself with his new players.
A lot of my colleagues and stuff in the game, they'll say, hey, you're going to do a great job there when you get your players in here. Well, the truth of the matter is that the guys I have right now are my players, and not making them feel wanted and cared for is a huge mistake.
The biggest thing with this staff in comparison to the old staff is communication. I think that's the biggest thing about being a coach, is just talking to your players and getting to know them more than just baseball players, as people as well.
Through its first 30 games, the team went 16-14, already eclipsing their 14-win total from a season ago. An improvement players credit to Coach Cooper's arrival.
We're all teammates, and some of us have been together for 4 years, and him jumping into this whole team-oriented atmosphere, because we're all friends here, we're not just thrown together. And I think he's settled in as part of our team, not just as our coach, but part of us as well.
Penn State Barron's cheerleading squad almost didn't exist in the 2013-14 school year. Thanks to one student, the team has become one of the best the school has seen in years.
It's no secret that the cheerleading squad at Penn State Barron has been through its fair share of trials and tribulations. The team has had 4 different coaches in the last 5 years, and this year got their 5th new coach. But this one was different. Barron's new coach is a former member of the team. In fact, she was a member just last year. Barron's athletic director, Brian Streeter, named Megan McKinney the head coach of the cheerleading squad.
It was the Wednesday before the students moved in. He said, I don't have time to put it in a paper. We won't have a team. And he goes, do you have certification? Can you do this? And I said, yes.
Streeter had no choice but to rely on McKinney, a junior studying mechanical engineering technology. If the school was going to have a team this year, she was their only option.
At this point, I wasn't going to cheer. I was done. I wasn't very happy with the way the program was going, and I said, you know what, I have a really, really hard semester, hard year. Being a junior mechanical engineer with an operations supply chain management minor, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take a year off and just focus on myself.
Her focus quickly shifted from her own studies to improving the cheerleading program. She had to rebuild this program from the ground up, with few members of last year's team returning for another year. Terry Johnston is one of those returning members. He and McKinney have been friends since arriving on campus 3 years ago, and he wasn't sure how having his peer as a coach would pan out.
It was really surprising because she is my own age, so it's kind of hard to take orders from someone you thought of as your equal for 2 years before that.
For one cheerleader, having McKinney as the coach was her main reason for joining the squad. The two cheered together in high school, and Ariana Fontes found that having a friend as a coach was the key to her success.
So it was a giant relief to know that I knew somebody who was going to be in charge of me coming from Gateway High School to Penn State cheerleading.
McKinney threw a curveball at her young squad and the athletic department when she announced that she wanted to take the squad to Daytona, Florida for the NCAA Nationals. Luckily for McKinney, Streeter was more than supportive.
He's like, you want to do this? You're going to do this. He's like, we're sending you to Florida. I was like, okay, tell me what I have to do.
With the help of the athletic department and the squad, they started working towards Florida. They started practicing more than they had ever before. They put in more and more hours each week, and they also suffered through a few hard times. But together, they pushed through and made the journey to Florida in mid-April.
As a freshman, when you say like, yeah, my team made it to nationals, you're like, that was my freshman year. So imagine what you're gonna be doing when you're like a sophomore or a junior or a senior. I'm like, this is really happening. I'm going to Daytona.
The team placed 8th at the NCAA Nationals and is already looking forward to improving next year.
Looking to expand its national footprint, the Big Ten Conference set its sights on expansion. In November of 2012, the conference added 2 new members, Maryland and Rutgers. For Terrapin and Scarlet Knight fans everywhere, welcome to the Big Ten.
I am pleased to announce that we are going to become a member of the Big Ten Conference starting July 1st of 2014.
Located 8 miles from the nation's capital in College Park, Maryland, the University of Maryland is set to move from the ACC to the Big Ten.
It's something that I know the campus is really going to embrace. We certainly think our fans are going to embrace it as well.
This is a top 20 university in the country. It's an unbelievable school. It's in an unbelievable location, and now I think it's a member of the best conference in the country.
The #1 conference in the country is the Big Ten. And when they open up the door and say, we'd like you to come in and join us, it's very difficult to say no to an invitation like that.
And it was an invitation that Maryland said yes to in November of 2012 when the university's Board of Regents voted to join the Big Ten as the conference's 13th member. So what's the reason for the move? University President Wallace Lowe says long-term financial stability.
By being members of the Big Ten Conference, we will be able to ensure the financial sustainability of Maryland athletics for decades to come.
So what kind of sustainability are we talking about? In the ACC, Maryland could expect to make anywhere between $20 and $25 million per year from the league. In the Big Ten, that number will be closer to $40 million a year beginning in 2017 when the conference renegotiates its television rights.
We'll be on TV a lot more. The matches will be streamed a lot more.
It's terrific exposure, and that's going to really help the athletic program.
The Big Ten Network is obviously a huge advantage of joining the Big Ten. The exposure that it's going to give to this university is going to be unbelievable.
Now for some of the Maryland faithful, the changing conference was considered a home run. For others, something truly unbelievable. A shock even that one of the ACC's charter members was heading out the door.
A lot of the people who are hardcore ACC folks, hardcore ACC basketball fans, they're really struggling with the fact that they're moving into the Big Ten. And not because Big Ten basketball isn't good, but because the tradition, and they were a charter member of the ACC. And a lot of that really mattered to a lot of people.
I was a little bit disappointed because I like our ACC tradition and I enjoy the rivalries that we have.
I think we're losing a big part of our tradition here. Yes, it will pay off in the long run, but we were one of the original schools.
My first reaction was, I can't believe this because Maryland's a charter member of the ACC. There's no way that they would leave the conference.
But as time passed, those inhibitions turned into understanding and positive looks ahead.
I think after the shock wore off, which it was a shock to everybody, I think everybody understands why the move is being made.
Looking at it now, it definitely has changed a lot since the announcement was first made. I'm a lot more excited about us going to the Big Ten, and I'm excited to see what we can do in a couple of years.
Once they get into the conference and they start to get a feeling of what it's like to play against the Michigans and the Ohio States and the Penn States, they're gonna realize it's different, but it's also special, and they're gonna fall in love with it.
And Maryland fans won't have to wait very long for that process to begin. In a few months, it all becomes official. The Maryland Terrapins to the Big Ten. Coming up next on In the Game, the conference would continue to expand as New Jersey State University accepted its invitation to the Big Ten. Continue watching as I take a look at the conference's 14th member.
The #1 conference in the country is the Big Ten. And when they open up the door and say, we'd like you to come in and join us, it's very difficult to say no to an invitation like that.
Would conference expansion continue? Absolutely. A 14th member just 3 hours northeast of College Park was set to join the Big Ten as well. Say hello to Rutgers. Following in the footsteps of Maryland, the Scarlet Knights accepted their invitation to the Big Ten on the same day as the Terrapins, leaving the Big East to become the conference's 14th member.
I think it's a great move.
We're so excited for the Big Ten.
I think it's wonderful. A lot of people are excited.
And many individuals associated with Rutgers University share that same enthusiasm.
Why wouldn't you be excited about that?
Incredible excitement. I think that can be said for all the athletes, all the coaches across the board.
I was excited for all of our coaches and student athletes and everybody at the university.
We see ourselves now as one of the big guys and not one of the small guys.
So why all the excitement? Well, for one, money talks, and this move talked a lot. Like Maryland, Rutgers is expected to receive over $30 million from the Big Ten per year come 2017, a number that looms large next to the $6 million Rutgers gets per year from the Big East.
It will be an impact for Rutgers on the athletic side, certainly to be able to compete facilities-wise.
They know the share of the money that they will receive in the next few years is going to be huge, and they're going to be able to support some of the smaller sports that sometimes are difficult for universities to support.
And in this instance, it's field hockey. For head coach Meredith Long, that increase in revenue will ensure financial backing for her up-and-coming program.
Our field hockey program is just very supported, kind of taking this next step into the Big Ten. You know, everybody's really on board with what we need and really, you know, want us to be successful. So, you know, as a head coach here at Rutgers, that's just really exciting.
Another exciting aspect of the move for Rutgers, the Big Ten Network. Along with Maryland, the Scarlet Knights will begin competing on BTN this fall.
You think about the Big Ten Network and what the money will do for Rutgers over time. That's going to be beneficial for them to add new facilities, to change what they have on campus, and they will get to the point where they are more competitive.
And that's the goal for Rutgers, to have a bigger national presence by becoming contenders across the board. And with the increase in program visibility, Rutgers has the opportunity to flourish in its new conference.
It has the ability, and it will have the infrastructure moving forward as the Big Ten contributes more to Rutgers and Rutgers contributes more to the Big Ten.
So now that the Big Ten has extended its footprint eastward to New York City, New Jersey, and the DC metropolitan area, look for the Big Ten to further solidify itself as the #1 conference in America. On July 1st, both Rutgers and Maryland will officially join the Big Ten Conference.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of In the Game. For more stories, visit our website, psucommedia.com. To get you through baseball season, check out a local high school pitching prospect and learn a little bit about the history of the game.
For instance, did you know baseball used to be 2 words? I'm Tyler Ainge.
And I'm Casey Laser. Have a great night.